I'm 90 years old. I have stood in more courtrooms than most people have stood in rooms. I have argued in front of judges who are now dead. I have defended people the world had already given up on. I have won cases that no one believed could be won. And I am here to tell you, winning is not always what you think it is. There is one case I think about every single day, not because I lost it, because I won it. And that win, that moment, everyone in that room stood up and looked at me like I was something extraordinary. That win is the thing I would give anything to take back. I thought I had time. I thought there would always be another morning to say what needed to be said, another weekend to show up, another year to finally slow down and just be present for the people who were waiting for me. I was wrong. The law teaches you to fight for the truth. It teaches you to build your case, defend your position, and never walk away from what matters. But no one tells you that while you are busy fighting for strangers, your real life is sitting at home, waiting, quietly losing hope. I gave 50 years to that courtroom. 50 years of early mornings, late nights, missed dinners, cancelled birthdays, unanswered calls, and the world rewarded me for it. They gave me awards. They wrote my name in newspapers. Younger lawyers looked at me like I was the standard they were trying to reach. I let myself believe it was worth it. I told myself, this is how I provide. This is how I protect the people I love. If I win enough, if I build enough, if I become important enough, then everything will be fine. I was so wrong. There is a kind of blindness that success gives you. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. It just slowly, quietly convinces you that later is always available. Later I will take the trip. Later I will have the conversation. Later I will put down the files and just sit with the people who need me to sit with them. Later never came, not the way I imagined it. And the case, the one that made my career, the one they still talk about in law schools, the one that put my name on a wall, that case was the moment everything else ended. I just didn't know it yet. The case came to me in the winter. I remember because the heating in my office had stopped working and I was sitting at my desk in my coat, reading through a file that was 3 inches thick. The client was a man named Gerald. He had been accused of a financial crime, a serious one, the kind that carries decades behind bars if you lose. His family had spent everything they had just to get him a proper defense. His wife had sold jewelry. His children had borrowed from friends. They came to me because they believed he was innocent. And after reading that file, so did I. I took the case. What I did not tell Gerald, what I did not tell anyone, was what I was walking away from to take it. My daughter had just turned 9. That year she had a school performance. A small thing. Children singing on a stage in a gymnasium that smelled like rubber and floor wax. Nothing historic. Nothing the world would remember. But she had been practicing for 3 months. Every evening I would hear her in her room, going over the same lines, singing the same song, getting a little better each time. She would come to the doorway of my study sometimes and say, "Papa, listen to this part." And I would look up from my files and smile and say, "Later, my love. Papa is working." Later never came. The night of the performance, I was in a conference room 400 miles away, preparing for the first hearing in Gerald's case. My wife called me. I did not answer. I told myself I would call back after the meeting. I told myself my daughter would understand. I told myself that what I was doing mattered, and it did matter. Gerald's freedom mattered. His family mattered. But here is the truth I buried for decades beneath logic and justification. My daughter was standing on that stage, looking out at the seats, searching for my face, and I was not there. My wife told me about it weeks later, quietly. The way she told me most things by then, not with anger, but with a kind of exhausted acceptance that was somehow worse than anger. She said, "She kept looking for you, even after it started. She kept looking." I nodded. I said I was sorry. I went back to my files. I thought I had time to make it right. I thought there would be other performances, other evenings, other chances to stand in a gymnasium that smelled like rubber and floor wax and watch my daughter find my face in the crowd and smile. There were other performances. I missed most of them, not always because of Gerald's case. Gerald's case eventually ended, but by then I had become someone who missed things. It was no longer a sacrifice I was making for one important case. It had become who I was. The courtroom had become more real to me than my own kitchen. The arguments I prepared at midnight felt more urgent than the conversations waiting for me at the dinner table. My wife was a patient woman, patient and quiet and so deeply good that even now, thinking about her, my chest feels like something is pressing against it from the inside. She used to leave a cup of tea on my desk when she went to bed. Just a cup of tea. No note, no words. Her way of saying, I am still here. I still see you. I would find it cold in the morning. I never once stopped to understand what it cost her to keep doing that, night after night, year after year, leaving something warm for a man who was always too busy to receive it while it was still warm. I thought I had time. I was so deeply, completely wrong. Gerald was acquitted. Full acquittal. Every charge dropped. I remember the moment the verdict was read. I remember the sound that went through that courtroom. Not a cheer, not a celebration, just this collective exhale, like the room itself had been holding its breath for months and finally let go. Gerald turned to me and grabbed my hand with both of his. He was crying. His wife was crying. His children were standing in the gallery and they were crying. And I stood there in my suit, in that courtroom, and I felt something I had never quite felt before in all my years of winning. I felt hollow. Not empty, hollow, like something had been carved out from the inside while I wasn't paying attention. I shook Gerald's hand. I accepted the congratulations. I spoke to the journalists waiting outside. I said the things a lawyer says when he wins a case that people have been watching. Then I got in a car, and I drove. I didn't call anyone. I didn't go back to the office. I just drove through the city as the light was fading, and somewhere in that drive, without planning it, without meaning to, I started to cry. Not for Gerald, not from relief. I cried because the moment I had been working toward for 14 months had arrived, and there was no one in my life I wanted to call, not because I had no one, but because I had spent so many years treating the people who loved me as secondary to whatever case was on my desk, that somewhere along the way, without either of us choosing it, the distance had become permanent. I drove home. My wife was in the kitchen. She heard me come in. She turned around. She looked at my face, and she knew. She always knew things before I said them. It was one of the things I loved about her, and one of the things I most took for granted. She said, "You won." I said, "Yes." She nodded. She turned back to what she was doing. And in that small, quiet moment, a man standing in a kitchen after the greatest victory of his career and his wife turning away, I understood something that no courtroom, no law book, no mentor had ever taught me. I had been building the wrong case my entire life. I had been so focused on winning arguments for strangers that I had never once properly argued for the people standing right in front of me. I had never fought for my marriage the way I fought for my clients. I had never prepared for my family the way I prepared for a hearing. I had never stayed up until midnight thinking about what my daughter needed, the way I stayed up until midnight thinking about evidence. And now my daughter was grown, and my wife was standing 3 feet away from me. And the silence between us was so thick, so old, so long established, that 3 feet felt like a distance I did not know how to cross anymore. I thought I had time. I had been thinking that for 40 years. And standing in that kitchen, still wearing the suit I had worn to court, I finally understood. Later never came. It had never been coming. Every time I said later, I was making a choice. I just refused to call it that. It felt safer to call it sacrifice. It felt honorable to call it dedication. It felt easier to frame it as, I am doing this for them. But they did not need my victories. They needed me. The version of me that existed before the files, before the cases, before I learned to treat urgency as a virtue and presence as a luxury I could not afford. My wife passed 4 years after that verdict, quietly, the way she did everything. I was with her at the end. I want you to know that. I was there. But I have spent every year since asking myself, why did it take losing her to make me finally completely stop? Why did I wait until there was nothing left to wait for? I want to talk to you directly now, not as a lawyer, not as someone recounting a story, as a 90-year-old man who has had a very long time to sit with the consequences of his choices. Because what happened to me, what I allowed to happen, it was not unique to courtrooms. It was not unique to lawyers. It is happening to you right now. Maybe not in a courtroom, maybe in an office, maybe in a warehouse, a hospital, a classroom, a car you drive for 12 hours a day to provide for people you barely see. The location does not matter. The pattern is the same. You have convinced yourself that what you are doing is for them. And maybe it is. Maybe part of it genuinely is. But there is another part, and this is the part I need you to hear. There is another part that is for you. The achievement, the recognition, the feeling of being needed, being capable, being the one who holds everything together. That feeling is not selfless. I was not selfless. I was addicted to being important inside that courtroom, because inside that courtroom, I always knew exactly who I was. I knew my role. I knew my value. I knew how to win. At home, I was less certain. At home, there were no clear arguments to construct, no evidence to present, no verdict that confirmed I had done well. Just people who needed me to be present in ways I had never learned how to be. So I went back to the courtroom again and again and again, because it was easier to win there. This is the truth no one tells you about ambition. It is often not strength that drives you. It is fear. Fear of stillness. Fear of not being enough in the quiet moments. Fear that if you stop achieving, if you stop being useful, being impressive, being busy, something will be revealed about you that you are not ready to face. I was afraid of the silence, so I filled every hour with noise, and I called it dedication. I called it love. I told myself, my family will understand one day. When they see what I built, when they benefit from what I sacrificed, they will understand. They did not need to understand. They needed me to show up. That is the false belief I carried for 50 years. That love is something you prove through what you build. The reality is this: love is something you prove through where you place your attention every day, in the ordinary moments, in the performances in the gymnasium, in the cup of tea left on a desk that should have been received warm, in the phone call you answer even when the meeting has not finished. In the evening, you close the file and say, "Tell me about your day," and then you actually listen. These are not small things. These are the entire thing. I thought I was building a life for my family. I was building a monument to myself, and I polished that monument every single day while the people I loved most stood at a distance, watching, waiting, slowly learning to need me less. Children are extraordinary in this way. They will wait for you for a long time. But children are also human. And humans, when they are left waiting long enough, they stop waiting. Not out of anger, not out of cruelty, just out of survival. My daughter did not become cold. She did not become bitter. She became independent. Completely, self-sufficiently, deeply independent. In a way that meant she did not know how to let me in later, when I finally had time. When I finally had time. What a phrase. As if time was something that was being held somewhere in reserve. As if there was a storehouse of it waiting for me at the end. There is no storehouse. There is only today. There is only this evening. There is only this version of your child who is exactly this age, needing exactly this kind of presence, for exactly this window of time. And that window does not stay open. I thought I had time. I thought I had time. I thought I had time. I was wrong. Every single time, I was wrong. And here is the hardest truth of all. I knew. Some quiet, honest part of me always knew. I just kept choosing the courtroom anyway. And I told myself a story about why that was acceptable. We are all very good at telling ourselves stories. The question is, are you going to keep telling yours? I'm 90 years old. I wake up every morning in a house that is very quiet, not peaceful quiet, not the quiet of a man who has earned his rest, the quiet of rooms that used to hold people, the quiet of a kitchen where no one leaves tea on anyone's desk anymore, the quiet of a life that was very full of the wrong things for a very long time. And I want you to understand something before I finish. I am not telling you this story so you will feel sorry for me. I do not want your sympathy. I want your attention. Because you are sitting somewhere right now, on a phone, at a desk, in a bed, in a car, and there is someone in your life who needs you. Not the version of you that shows up exhausted at the end of everything. Not the version of you that promises better days are coming. Not the version of you that loves them in theory, in intention, in the future tense. They need you now, today, in this form, in this season. in this ordinary, unremarkable moment that you are currently treating as something to get through on the way to something more important. There is nothing more important. I need you to hear that. There is nothing more important. Not the promotion, not the deal, not the case. Not the target, the deadline, the milestone, the number you are trying to reach before you finally allow yourself to rest. None of it. I won the biggest case of my career and I drove home and stood in my kitchen and felt like a man who had been robbed. Because I had been robbed. Not by Gerald. Not by the law. Not by ambition or circumstance or bad luck. I robbed myself. Every day for 50 years I made small choices that I told myself were temporary. And temporary became permanent. And permanent became a life. So let me say clearly what I wish someone had said to me at 30, at 40, at 50 when there was still time to turn it around properly. Stop waiting for life to slow down before you start living it. It will not slow down. It will not send you a signal that now is the right moment to be present. You will always have one more thing to finish. You will always have a reason to delay. And the people in your life, the good ones, the ones who love you quietly and consistently and without demanding recognition for it, they will wait. For a while they will wait, but do not test that. Do not make them prove how long they will wait. Do not let your love become something they remember instead of something they feel. My wife waited. She waited with grace and patience and that cup of tea every night for more years than I deserved. And when she was gone, the thing that broke me was not the grief I expected. What broke me was the ordinary things. The Tuesday afternoons I could have come home early and didn't. The Sunday mornings I could have sat with her and read and just existed in the same room and chose instead to prepare for Monday. The thousand small moments of nothing, of just being alive beside someone you love, that I traded away for files and arguments and verdicts. Those moments do not come back. Not one of them. And I am 90 years old, and I know things now that I cannot unknow, and I cannot go back, and I cannot fix it, and I cannot hold her hand one more time and say, I see you. I have always seen you. I am sorry it took me so long to stop long enough to show you. So I am saying it to you instead. I am looking at you, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever it is you keep choosing over the people who love you. And I am asking you not to make my mistake. Don't make my mistake. Please, you still have time. Not infinite time. Not guaranteed time. But today you have time. Tonight you have time. Put down what you are carrying for 1 hour. Go to the person who matters. Sit with them. Listen to them. Let them feel that they are not competing with everything else in your life and losing. Because the day will come, I promise you, the day will come when you would give every award, every victory, every achievement stacked up from a lifetime of striving, just to sit quietly in a room with them one more time. I know because I am living in that day. I have been living in it for years. And it is the longest, quietest, most humbling place I have ever stood. I thought I had time. I was wrong. Don't make my mistake.